Hi everyone, welcome to another 15 cards. As you can see here, it's Zendikar. We've got a pack here that I previously opened back in the day. I think I must have opened this probably, I don't know, I suspect about 6 months after Zendikar came out, because I wasn't opening any packs in 2009 when it would have come out, but 2010 I was, I think by then, yeah, was it World Wake, I suppose, an M10, so I probably retrospectively opened these. But yeah, we've got a nice one from around that era. Start off with a nice forest here in the back. And as always with these, we'll zoom in a moment, get a closer look at the artwork on some of the cards here. Green Weaver Druid, did I? Oh, yeah, maybe accidentally swap the order around here a bit. Let's do that, it's better. There we go. So we have a Lotus Cobra. So 1 in the green, 2/1. Creature snake with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. And that was a mythic. Then we have Green Weaver Druid, 2 in a green. Creature Elf Druid, it's a 1/1, tap, add 2 green to your mana pool. Mark of Mutiny, 2 in a red sorcery, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on it and untap it. That creature gains haste until end of turn. Gatekeeper of Malakir, 2 black, 2/2, creature vampire warrior. It's got kicker on it, so you may pay an additional black in this case as you cast this spell. When Gatekeeper of Malakir enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, target player sacrifices a creature. Yeah, very interesting vampires in Zendikar. Both the set and the block. Molten Ravager, 2 in a red, 0/4, creature elemental. Red Molten Ravager gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Shoal Serpent, 5 in a blue, 5/5 with Defender and Landfall. It's a creature serpent. And for landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Shoal Serpent loses Defender until end of turn. So wasn't it the case that there was a Defender deck you could build, you could draft, I think, in the set, if my memory serves me correctly. Shieldmate Blessing, single white, instant, prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. And I think I've mentioned before, I find this set to be incredibly fast generally. So it's always interesting when you maybe find certain archetypes in here which are able to sort of disrupt that speed element of the set. Soul Stare Expedition, single black enchantment, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter on Soul Stare Expedition. Remove 3 quest counters from Soul Stare Expedition and sacrifice it. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Now, there's a number of very interesting cycles in this set, these expeditions. What I will do is I'll include a link. I would have done previously on this channel, I would have done a set musings for this, so I'll include a link to that and anything else related to Zendikar as well that I may have done, and I'll include those in the description. Galani Heart Expedition, 1 in the green, enchantment, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter on Galani Heart Expedition. Remove 3 quest counters from Galani Heart Expedition and sacrifice it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, then put them onto the battlefield tab, then shuffle your library. Trap Finder's Trick, on 1 in a blue sorcery, target player reveals his or her hand and discards all trap cards. Yeah, trap cards are a thing. We've got a Vampire Lacerator. So it's single black, 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless an opponent has 10 or less life. Stonework Puma, 3 to cast, and it's a 2/2. Vanilla creature there. We've got one of a cycle of monocolour lands here. So this is the Teetering Peaks. When it enters the battlefield, enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. You tap it for red mana. Core Sky Fisher. Yeah, there were a number of cores in the set. So 1 and a white, 2/3 with flying. When Core Skyfisher enters the battlefield, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. And we have a rather nice snake token. So let us zoom in and see if we can see some interesting things in the artwork. What I'll do is I'll zoom in on my Lotus Cobra first. As close as I dare. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll use that setting to have a quick look at parts of the forest. So, yeah, full art land in here. In the boosters, I'm not sure what they did for the land packs in the fat packs, as they were called back then, which then became bundles. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know sometimes, you know, you get this mixture in sets of both full art and like sort of regular art frames. But for these, the as far as I can remember, the full art was always in the boosters, or at the very least in the boosters. Pretty cool. Okay. I imagine this would look pretty cool in foil, actually. Yeah, nice nod here to obviously a lotus motif. It's always interesting whenever you see lotus something on a card, you know, zoom in on that rules text and just see if there's obviously some form of mana generation involved. Speaking of mana generators, this is pretty creepy. Oh wow. So is this... Oh, I'm trying to think of the name of this type of mythical beast. Is this supposed to be... Oh, what are they now? It almost looks like one of those mixture of a lion and an eagle. Is it like a manticore? I'm not very good at remembering the names of all these sort of mythical beasts. Let me just have a quick look there. Yeah, it's definitely got yeah, it's 4 legs there, wings and a tail. Yeah, interesting hybrid. Some chimera type thing. That would actually look pretty cool in foil. Looking at that, imagine if that sort of flame-like halo popped and this, that would be pretty nice. The gatekeeper. Molten Ravager. Yeah, I did get to draft this number of years later on Magic the Gathering Online when they had one of those throwback drafts. And that was my first first experience of how fast the format was. Yeah, it didn't do well in those those events. That's pretty cool. I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to the position of the eye here. That's pretty creepy. it's interesting. I was just looking at this, and that looks like a bird, doesn't it? There, just there. No. Interesting. It's quite abstract elements there, actually. This is pretty dark looking. Well, we can see what's going on there. It's very nice. I'm probably going to have to revisit some other cards from Zendikar, actually. I do enjoy. I was trying to think, like, this is probably one of my all-time favourite set stroke blocks. I think it's probably up there with a few others. But yeah. I always get a bit nostalgic for this period, sort of, what is it? Zendikar into Scars and Mirrodin into, what would it be? Innistrad? Block, those 3 blocks, I suppose. But that's really cool. Look at this waterfall here, it's just so cool. Shame we can't get in a little bit closer. It's a bit easier to see the figure in the foreground here as well. We can see a bit clearer here. Whenever I did a sort of first look at this card, it was always the face more than anything that really jumped out at me. We got Vampire Lesserate, as I said, quite a number of interesting vampire cards in the set. There's that fine beast. Look at its nice saddle here. It's interesting so far. I've noticed one thing with these cards, is we're not really getting a feel for that. You know, that sort of classic Zendikar background, really, are we? With the interesting landscape. This is probably the closest on the Teetering Peaks. Oh, there we go. That's the sort of thing I was talking about. There we go. Funny that. The other thing I was, again, this might be a slightly blurry memory, but I always seem to remember that cards that were the same, you know, creature type had a very similar look and feel to them artwork wise, from what I remember. Of course, I probably would go through now and be proven completely wrong, but that also sort of sticks in my head. Things like, you know, the vampires, the artwork had a similar vibe to it. The core cards, similarish vibe as well. But in the background, there's the sort of thing I was talking about. So these interesting floating structures. And then we have a nice snake token. really thought much about how much token borders have changed over the years, actually. Whenever I look at these ones, it always just makes me think of the border that they used for the artwork on one of the unsets for the land. It's not identical, but there's something about it that just makes me think of that vibe. I think it must be something to do with this sort of cutout here, maybe, I don't know. But I don't know if anybody ever gets that sometimes when you look at a certain card, like a token, and in some ways, you know, the look of the card is just so markedly different. But at the same point, it just reminds you of something a little bit earlier in Magic's history, and this is the case with the tokens around that time. I get that vibe. I mean, of course, you could remove the snake here and you'd have a really nice forest card, wouldn't you? So there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed that 15 card episode. As I said, yeah, one of my favourite sets and blocks in Magic. Let me know in the comments section if there's any particular set you'd like me to give the 15 card treatment. See if I've got those. Yeah, because I'm bouncing around these. I'm going to do a bit of a run on the Zendikar block. So we'll have Zendikar for this one, and then we will do World Wake and then Rise of the Eldrazi. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.